Most men think burnout feels like stress. But for a lot of high-functioning men it doesn't. Feels like nothing. No breakdown. No crisis. No obvious sign that anything is wrong. You keep showing up. You keep performing. People still rely on you. From the outside, your life looks completely under control. And that's exactly why nobody notices what's happening, including you. Because the most emotionally drained men rarely look exhausted. They look successful. And that's what makes this so dangerous. Because by the time you notice something is wrong, you've often been carrying it for years. It's 11:47 p.m. The house is quiet. Everyone else is asleep. You just closed your laptop after a 13-hour day, the kind of day where, by any reasonable measure, you crushed it. Every email answered. Every fire put out. The kind of day other people look at and think, wow, he really has it together. And you do. You really do. So why, sitting here in the dark, do you feel nothing? Not stressed exactly. Not even sad. Just hollow. Like someone turned the volume down on your own life and forgot to turn it back up. There's a photo on your desk, your kids or maybe your partner smiling at the camera from some trip a couple of years back. You used to glance at that photo throughout the day. Lately, you can't remember the last time you actually looked at it. You pick up your phone, scroll for a minute, put it back down. And a thought creeps in, quiet but persistent. Is this it? Is this just what it is now? You push the thought away. You have to be up early. There's too much to do tomorrow to deal with this tonight. But the thought doesn't really leave. Just waits. It's been waiting for a while now, actually. You just haven't had the time or the energy to really look at it. If any part of that felt a little too familiar, this video is for you. We're going to talk about something that doesn't get talked about nearly enough. Why the men who seem to have it most together, the dependable ones, the steady ones, the people everyone else leans on, are so often the ones quietly running on empty underneath it all. We'll look at why being the strong one comes with a cost that almost never shows up on the outside. We'll go through 3 patterns that tend to drain high-functioning men, often without them even realizing it's happening. And by the end, we'll talk about what to actually do with all of this. Not some massive life overhaul, but small, honest shifts that can genuinely start to change things. This isn't about telling you that you're broken. You're not. This is about understanding what's been quietly costing you so you can start getting some of it back. Here's something worth sitting with for a moment. In psychology, there's a term that's become more common in recent years: high-functioning depression. It's not always an official clinical diagnosis, but it describes something a lot of people recognize instantly: people who can hold down demanding careers, raise families, show up for everyone who needs them, and still feel like they're quietly drowning underneath it all. Researchers who study burnout, and this research goes back decades, have found that burnout isn't really about how many hours you work. At its core, it's about emotional exhaustion, the sense that you have nothing left to give, even to the people and things you love most. And here's the part that hits especially close to home for a lot of men. Research consistently finds that men are significantly less likely than women to recognize emotional distress in themselves, talk about it, or seek any kind of support for it. Not because men feel less. If anything, the opposite is often true. A lot of men feel just as much, but were never really given the language, the permission, or the practice to notice what they're feeling, let alone do something about it. And if you've ever brushed off how you're feeling with something like, "I'm just tired," or "it's just stress," you're probably not wrong exactly. But sometimes just tired goes on for so long that it stops being temporary and quietly starts being who you think you are. So if any of this is landing, you're not imagining it. And you are very, very far from the only one. So why does this happen? Why are the most capable, most relied upon people often the ones who end up feeling the most depleted? From what researchers, and honestly, thousands of personal stories point to again and again, there are three patterns that show up over and over. Let's go through them one at a time. The first pattern is what I'd call the mask of competence. Somewhere along the way, maybe early, maybe without anyone ever saying it out loud, a lot of us learned that being in control meant not showing certain things. Frustration, sadness, fear, loneliness. These got quietly filed under not helpful right now, and after enough time under not really okay to feel at all. And here's the tricky part. That mask works. It gets you through the meeting where you're furious but composed. It gets you through the family event where you're exhausted but smiling. It's useful. It's effective. But it's not free. Psychologists sometimes call this emotional labor. The energy it takes to manage what you show on the outside separate from what's actually happening on the inside. And when you do that every single day for years, that energy doesn't just disappear. It builds up, quietly, until one day you're sitting in your car in the driveway, engine off, completely unable to explain why you suddenly can't go inside yet. Maybe for you, it shows up as never being the one to say, "I don't know," in a meeting, even when you genuinely don't. Or always being the calm voice during a crisis, while quietly falling apart once you're finally alone. The second pattern is what I'd call the achievement treadmill. You hit a goal, a promotion, a milestone, a number you've been chasing for years, and for a day, maybe two, it feels genuinely good. And then, it's on to the next thing, the next quarter, the next title, the next box that's supposed to finally make you feel like you've made it. This isn't really your fault, by the way. A lot of people are wired this way, and honestly, a lot of our environments reward exactly this. But the cost is real. You never actually arrive anywhere. There's no finish line where you finally get to exhale and think, "Okay, I'm enough now." And when your sense of worth gets tied that tightly to what you produce, rest starts to feel dangerous, like falling behind, like getting soft, even while your body and mind are quietly begging you to stop. Maybe it's the promotion that felt amazing for about 48 hours, and then suddenly all you could think about was the next title, the next raise, the next thing you should be working toward. And the third pattern, maybe the quietest of the three, is isolation at the top. The more capable you become, the more people start coming to you. For advice, for stability, for someone to lean on when things get hard. And in a way that feels good. It's a sign you're trusted, that you matter. But there's a flip side most people don't talk about. When you become the person everyone else leans on, it can start to feel almost impossible to admit when you're the one struggling. Because if you're not okay, then who's supposed to hold everything together? So you don't say anything. You just keep going. You keep showing up, keep being dependable, keep being the calm one in the room. Maybe it's the fact that people regularly come to you with their problems, but you genuinely can't remember the last time someone asked how you were doing and actually waited for a real answer. And slowly, without ever really choosing it, you end up surrounded by people while feeling completely alone in what you're actually carrying. Three different patterns. But notice what they have in common. All three look like strengths from the outside: competence, ambition, reliability, while quietly costing you something on the inside. Which is exactly why this kind of exhaustion is so easy to miss, even by the person feeling it. I want to slow down here for a moment because I don't want to rush past this part. If you've stayed with me this far, there's a good chance some of this is hitting closer to home than you expected. Maybe you're thinking about the last time you felt genuinely excited about something, not relieved that it's over, not satisfied that it's checked off, but actually fully excited. And maybe you're realizing it's been a while, longer than you'd like to admit. Maybe you're thinking about friendships that have quietly faded, not because anything went wrong, but because you simply didn't have the energy left to maintain them after everything else. Maybe there's a version of your life you used to picture 10, 15 years ago, and looking honestly at where you are now feels complicated. Not necessarily bad. Just complicated. Maybe even a little disorienting. And underneath all of it, there might be a quieter, scarier question sitting there. What if this is just what life is now? What if the tiredness doesn't go away, it just becomes the new normal? That fear is real. And it deserves more than being pushed aside with another to-do list, another late night at work, another, "I'll deal with this later." Because later has a way of quietly becoming never, especially for someone who's this good at coping. So here's the reframe, and I want you to actually let this land, not just hear it and move on. None of what we've talked about means something is wrong with you. It means something has been working, just maybe not in the direction you actually want anymore. The traits that got you here, your discipline, your reliability, your ability to push through hard things without falling apart, those aren't flaws. They're real strengths. They've probably gotten you through more than most people will ever fully know. The problem isn't who you are. It's that those strengths have been pointed almost entirely outward, toward your job, your responsibilities, the people who depend on you, and almost never inward toward yourself. And here's the thing, the fact that you're even watching this, that some part of you is quietly asking, is this really it? That's not a sign of weakness. That's awareness. That's the part of you that still wants more out of life, even when you're running on empty. That part doesn't show up in people who've truly given up. It shows up in people who are ready, even if they don't feel ready yet, to start doing something differently. And differently doesn't have to mean blowing up your life. It can be small. It can be admitting, even just to yourself, that you're tired. It can be one honest conversation with someone you actually trust. It can be allowing yourself to rest without feeling like you have to earn it first. Maybe it's 10 minutes in the morning where you're not checking your phone. Maybe it's saying, "I don't actually want to do that," once in a while without over-explaining yourself. Maybe it's just genuinely noticing one good thing in your day instead of letting it blur past on the way to the next task. And for some people, yes, it can mean talking to a therapist. Not because something's broken, but because that's just another tool. The same way you'd bring in an expert for anything else you actually cared about getting right. So here's what I want to leave you with. If even one part of this video describes something you felt, but maybe never said out loud, I'd genuinely like to know. What's the thing that's been quietly draining you? Is it the pressure to always have it together? The sense that rest has to be earned? Something else entirely? Something you've never really put into words before? You don't have to have it all figured out to leave a comment. Sometimes just naming something, even to a bunch of strangers on the internet, is the first step toward feeling a little less alone with it. And if any of this resonated with you, there's a good chance someone in your life feels exactly the same way and has never said it either. So, take care of yourself. You've spent a long time taking care of everything else.